Welcome to the fight game. He's Icewater, I'm Puma, and we're just getting back from Vegas and we're seeing fights and not only fights in the ring, but people dropping, getting drunk in Vegas and Cinco de Mayo weekend. So a good time was had by all, I'm pretty sure. But let's talk about some boxing. There were some boxing matches on Friday night. Let's go with the Haney fight first. You have fighters that were at this particular spot in New York that could be fighting each other, but they're fighting other fighters. And Haney made an account of himself. But the fights, you and I talked about it, weren't that good on Friday night. You were expecting them to be in New York and have these great fights and epic fights where you're expecting kind of like a WWE vibe where you win a fight and I can't wait to get the next to you, but it's like it didn't happen that way. Your thoughts on this, man?
Yeah, I mean, it was really sad because people were all excited. First time that you had fights where they had a separate tent and everything set up for Times Square, right? I mean, never had been done before. They pretty much shut everything down, and it was had a nice little movement to it. They had fighters being brought up in nice vehicles. Ryan Garcia came up in the Batmobile and everything. So it was really nice, but. Devin Haney, this is supposed to be his opportunity to win or try to win this fight versus Jose Ramirez and win in a very spectacular fashion. Because the last time we saw him, he was kind of getting rocked by Ryan Garcia. And he kept saying, oh, with PEDs and all this other stuff. So, of course, his dad, Bill Haney, says, you're going to see a new improved Devin Haney. And we saw a Devin Haney that was really not engaging like we thought he would. He did win a unanimous decision, but
Yeah.
from the standpoint of he just didn't engage. And I think a lot of people were frustrated by that. And when they saw that, it's like, well, even though you won, we're still not impressed. And
Yeah.
are you still feeling the effects of the last time that you got knocked down a few times by Ryan Garcia?
Yeah, because one sports writer described it as a snoozer. That you don't want that in a fight where people are like, okay, we could take a nap during this particular fight. You won. I think the route was 119, 109, 119, 109, and 118, 110, a unanimous decision. But if you're not really doing anything to kind of impress people that want to buy more pay-per-view fights from this particular fighter, it didn't show that.
No, you're absolutely right. And then, like you said, people are going to be demanding more out of their dollars because you have this is almost like Devin Haney was going through the motion so he gets to make it to the next fight.
Yeah.
And that's why it gets tiresome because it was a type of situation during that weekend on that Friday. Uh, no fans were really allowed to attend. It was selected audience members only.
Right.
You shut everything down and you make this big spectacle and big deal about New York and everything. It was a class act, but the fighters didn't come up with class acts, most of them, and especially with Devin Haney. He just was trying to get to the next fight, which is supposed to be against Ryan Garcia.
Yeah, you getting paid that much money in a big platform like that. You got to put on a show. You got to put on a show to make people say, you know what, I want that again. You had Telefimo Lopez against Arnold Barboza, and Lopez won unanimous decision 116, 112, 116, 112, 118, 110. And this was kind of like a one sided 12 round unanimous decision. But it wasn't that kind of fight that make you go, you know what, that was a hell of a fight. It just didn't reek of that. And so, again, when you're doing these matches, you got to put fighters there that are going to put a show for people based on the money that they're paying to watch these events.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think that the sad thing about it is Teofimo Lopez has been calling out a few people, saying he wants bigger fights. And you fight Barbosa, and it's almost like a walk in the park, as you mentioned, because of the scores. But it's almost like it was following protocol, right? Actually, I think Teofimo was the first fight of the night for the major card, and he did what he's supposed to do. I mean, he had an inferior opponent, and he worked him and made it work in his best interest. But we never thought that the other part would come all the way that it did down. But I don't know. Now we're just trying to figure out what's next for Teofimo Lopez. I guess we'll talk about that shortly.
Yeah, one of the things that we'll talk about in a bit that there may be Boots Ennis a fight for Teofimo Lopez, and I'm looking forward to that because that's going to be a fight. Of course, you have Rolly Romero against Garcia, and you saw the fight, and I kind of missed it, and then I came back and watched the fight, and then I looked at it, and you called it exactly the way it happened. After Garcia gets dropped in round two, he stopped fighting. He just stopped fighting. It was almost like that, the Michael secret stuff that he was taking during the Haney fight, he didn't have. They didn't have in the quarter. And he looked like, he was tentative. He didn't want to engage. I don't know if he felt Riley's power and decided, you know what, I don't want no more of that. But it's like, if they were trying to get a rematch for Haney Garcia, he ruined that. Both of them pretty much ruined it, but especially Garcia because he didn't engage and say, you know what, you knocked me down, I'm gonna get my get back, and I got to put you down because there's money on the line.
Yeah, and trainer Derek James we brought back to his camp after he got knocked down, Garcia that is in the second round. He's like, "You're the champion. Step up, give me something." And it's almost as if he was afraid to get hit again, as you
Yeah.
mentioned. I think it was like a left hook that caught him, and he didn't want any of his part of that. Garcia didn't, and I'm like, he was very tentative. He didn't go forward. He just held. Sometimes he wanted to be safe, and clearly when Rolly knocked him down, Rolly was a little bit more aggressive too. But the thing that really kind of surprised me is the fact that if you watch most of Rolly Romero's fights, he's what we call a one-trick pony.
Mm.
He goes a certain way. Even when he knocked Garcia down, he's very methodical. So he has his movements and he moves forward. He doesn't change his style up. He's the same guy. And normally, like when he fought Tank Davis, if you wait and you time him and you catch, you can kill throw usually a wild punch at some point, and you just have to step back and catch him. Ryan Garcia did nothing like that. And he was being told that in the corner, that he was running out of time, and he just did not react. He did not react to the commands coming from the corner. And at that point, what can you do? There's nothing else to do, but he didn't respond, and Rolly was able to get that victory.
Okay, let's go to Saturday. Of course, this fight with Canelo Alvarez, I call it Dancing with the Stars because pretty much that's what they did. Pretty much the whole fight. I thought Scully had a chance to really kind of come away and do something really special, but it seemed like he didn't want to engage. It seemed like Canelo at times wanted to engage, but these guys, it's almost like let's go out here, let's not get hurt because Canelo has to fight in September, and so let's just make it look good and let's get out of here. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, we look at it, even with Skull, right? Skull is doing the best he could. He's a
I
little
called him
bigger.
Scully, right? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
you call it Scully. You do. I'm like Scully. Okay, Scully. Like we on what's our science fiction show?
The X-Files.
There you go. So yeah, but Skull was trying to come in and do his best, but he was jumping around and trying to dance and move and all that other stuff. But the really sad thing about it is with Canelo, he had one of the lowest power outputs in boxing history. Both
Power
of them
punch
did.
outfit.
Yeah. Both of them. So with that being said, Canelo's supposed to be the face of boxing, and it's almost as if he was just coming off a nap or something, like he was going through the motions. And I said this, I think somebody mentioned that he had signed a four fight deal or some type of deal with Turkey, the promoter. And I think one of the first, because Canelo prior to this had never fought outside of either Mexico or the United States, like Vegas or something like that, or New York, wherever. But I think Turkey, by say, okay, I'll sign you to this deal, whatever it's going to be, one of the main things you have to do first, you have to come to Saudi. So my people can see you. They want to see you because that's not Canelo's thing. Canelo on Cinco de Mayo weekend, he's in Vegas and everybody goes crazy. So it had to be a nice chunk of change, a nice payday for him to go to Saudi Arabia. And he went over there and looked very subpar. very subpar. But he won, and they had Crawford over there, and they announced that fight afterwards.
So, do you think Canelo looked that way to set up for September for folks to say, "Oh, wait a minute, Crawford may have a chance to get this guy because this guy didn't look too good in this particular fight."
Well, I'm gonna say this. I'm a conspiracy theorist. I'm not saying that he looked that way on purpose, but I'll just say this. Maybe he didn't give his best effort
Mm,
because he didn't have to. Maybe he could coast.
right.
And by coasting, you maybe give people a beam of hope, a beam of hope that Crawford has a chance. And he does. I mean, Crawford's one of the best fighters we've seen in a long time. But to jump up to 168 is going to be a lot. I say this, that maybe he did that and he was just kind of making sure he was going to be preserved for the fall. But it's going to be very interesting because I know just by people talking about it, they feel a lot better about Terrence Crawford now than they did prior to this fight.
Because maybe he did this to say, I'm not going to give you any film on me. I'm not going to give you any film you can study to see, what my, weaknesses are. So maybe, just like you said, he did just enough to kind of coast. I'm not going to give him much film. He's going to have to go back to other fights, but this is not one piece of film that he's going to get that he can kind of take back and say, okay, this is where we can get him, this is where we can get him, this way. Because I just saw them kind of dancing with each other and not really engaging. It's like, this is to quote another journalist, it's a snoozer. It's a snoozer, and you're not punching a lot, and the scorecards were like 115 to 113, 112 to 116, and 119 to 109. So one judge had them, far ahead, and a couple of judges had it really close. So I don't know what they were seeing, but it seemed to me that we don't want you to get hurt. This is kind of, feel them out and get you some money, and so you can get set up for a workout, a sparring exhibition, so you can get to the next fight in September where the big money is going to happen, and maybe the bets are going to be more on Crawford based on how he looked. I remember you saying that they wanted Crawford to fight too, but Crawford hasn't fought, so maybe they wanted Crawford to kind of get a little bit banged up before going into September. But it appears to me that Crawford is getting his body right, getting his conditioning right for September and getting that weight up.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know if they wanted him to fight for him to get banged up. Canelo's going to take, he decided to take it on, and it is what it is. So I think Crawford's trying to, I think the one thing, once he fought at 154 for the first time, they realized that this is going to be a process, his training that is, for it's going to be a process to get to that weight at 168. And not only get there, but feel comfortable with there, right? But the thing too, I think one of the major issues for them, and maybe it may not be because Crawford's like, hey, I can fight anybody, and Canelo's not that big. Not having a rehydration clause in there is going to be major because Canelo could mess around and come in night of the fight 185, 190. And, you say you can do what you got to do. But it'll be interesting because I think it comes down to the strategy. Bud Crawford says he's going to box and he's going to try to do what he has to do to move forward. And I think he cannot help himself. He's going to want to engage at some point with Canelo, where they meet in the middle of the ring. And he's probably not going to run a la Charlo and some other folks. But he's going to be there. And the question is, can you take that punch at 168?
Yeah, yeah, that's going to be the question. And if he can, boy, that's going to make a hell of a fight. So we watched the Monster on Sunday night at T-Mobile, and he went up against Cardenas, and kind of shocked me because Cardenas put him on the ground, and I'm like, whoa! And he put him on the ground with the same left hook that Neary hit him with, because I noticed in the fight that the Monster kind of throws, with reckless abandon and not cover up with that right. and he got caught with the same punch, and it seemed like Roman was waiting for it. He was waiting for it, and they had scouted it, and he was looking for it again after he knocked him down the first time. But I gotta give it to the monster. He got knocked down, and it just seemed like it made him mad. You embarrassed me out here, my first time here in Las Vegas. Oh, you gonna get this work. And he went to work. And at first, when they stopped the fight, me, you, and James kind of like, man, they shouldn't have stopped it. But his opponent was his hands were down, and he was just ripe for the taking at that particular point. He probably would have got seriously hurt if the monster would have kept punching. But that was the most exciting fight that I saw over the weekend because those were fighters who wanted to fight. They were going at it toe to toe.
Cardenas is tough. I mean, he's the type of guy that he wasn't afraid of the monster. The monster was throwing nice shots, body shots, and he saw that opening, as you said, when the monster drops his hand. In a way, he's not perfect, but he's a fighter. He comes to fight. So he was really busy, and he took a chance trying to get him out of there. And Cardenas was, nah, all right, you gonna leave it open? And everybody's, oh, crowd's going wild and going nuts. The monster got himself back together, started to get back into his rhythm. Great fight though. Cadenas is a tough guy. I can see him going against some other people and doing well. But it's the monster, and the monster kind of shows you why he's special, right? It's why he's in the pound for pound discussion because he just keeps going. Very, very talented, very aware fighter, and I'm happy for him because he came to America to get some exposure, and he was the only game in town on that weekend. Mm-hmm. And I know he'll be back. We'll see. I don't know against who, but he'll be back in America. I think it was a great trip for him.
Yeah, I think it was too. We saw a lot of Japanese folks, there supporting him. It was a great showcase, and I look forward to him coming back. But there was a fight before that particular fight with Espinoza and Vasquez, where Espinoza won the fight with I think a technical knockdown, or they stopped it in the seventh. And your boy was refereeing that fight, and I was looking at Espinoza. I mean, he just attacked Vasquez, and he was right to kind of step in and go, okay, enough's enough, because he was really Espinoza was really punishing his opponent. Now I'm not sure whether or not you were watching that, because there was another screen on there, and the basketball game was on, and then there was a hockey game that was happening at the same time, where the St. Louis Blues are probably still feeling sick from losing, being up 2 goals, and your brother was into that, so we were all kind of like, just kind of all over the place. But I was watching that more carefully. I don't know if you saw that fight, but if you did, any thoughts on that fight?
Yeah, I mean, you had two guys that are really going at each other. It's just the tough. I think came down to conditioning at the end,
Yeah.
right? And you had just had to where Harv just had to step in as referee and did what he had to do. Two just warriors, guys just fighting, giving it all. And when they're banging like that, you just never know. Sometimes not even the bigger fighter or whatever. It's kind of like the Connor Ben fight that most recently, where they were just going at each other, and eventually one guy got worn down. But they both were tough guys fighting, giving their all. It was action packed, unlike some of those other fights. And end of the day, the tougher guy, the guy that had the most stamina, and the guy who was able to land the best shots won.
We gotta give shouts out to your boy Harvey Doc out there refereeing. We see you, kid. We see you. Hopefully, we get you on the show pretty soon. Definitely gonna try to hook up with you on September 12th and see who you're refereeing on that particular fight. But we kind of previewed this on our sports show, The Squad. Pacquiao making a comeback for a title shot against Mario Boris for the welterweight champion, the WBC welterweight championship of the Earl. So what do you think about that one, man? Because he's like 46 years old. He's playing a George Foreman. I guess he got inspired by the recent death of George Foreman and said, you know what? I can make that move too. If he wins this, where do you see him going?
I mean, Pacquiao's so different, man. I mean, this is the type of fight though that he'll have enough time to kind of get ready. If I'm Barrios though, I don't even know if I really want this fight because the same way that Keith Thurman thought he was going to run through Pacquiao,
Right.
all Pacquiao needs is 6 good rounds.
Yeah.
He can start out well, have a little knockdown because he will be in phenomenal shape.
Yeah.
The problem's going to be at the end where he's whether or not he has the stamina and whether or not he can stay away. Which same way was how he caught Keith Thurman early. Mario Barrios, I know they're doing it for all the hype and everything, but if you let Pacquiao win this fight, man, shame on you, bro.
I mean, I believe the fight is on July 19th, so it's not too far off. So,
Shame on you, brother.
yeah,
Shame on you. If you
yeah.
let Pacquiao win this fight, I mean, you're young enough, you're the champion, and maybe they're trying to just do it for greatness. I don't know, but I don't know. It's I think they should just I don't know. I'm just all of the people out here that are looking for opportunities. Yeah, Barrios is 29-2.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering. I don't know. I mean, and here's the thing: Pacquiao, because of his experience, has an opportunity here. And the one thing I'm really watching, I don't know if they set it up this way or whatever, but when you look at Barrios' record, he's 29-2-1, and he only has 18 KOs, which means you don't have a lot of power, and you won your last fight by split decision. Pacquiao, if he's any a shell of himself early on, that's the type of fight he would like to have coming back.
I have a feeling that Pacquiao really never stopped training, and he always knew he was going to make a comeback. And then he's picking this at the right time because I think Pacquiao is a very smart man, very smart fighter. And when he left, things were kind of hot in the welterweight division at that particular point. And now he's coming in, things kind of cooled off, and he's not fighting like a tune-up fight in the welterweight division. He's going after a title, and he has the big name to do it. I suspect he's always been in shape. Now he's in fight shape because this fight is in. We got May, June, July, and they're less than 2 months, and they're about to get it on. So I think he's always been in shape or some kind of shape. So by July 19th, Barrios better talk to Keith Thurman and and to what to watch out for because I remember when Pacquiao fought Keith Thurman kind of underestimated him and got that ass whipped. So yeah, Mario, I wouldn't take Pacquiao lightly. If you want to beat an old man, you better beat an old man. You better come in and beat an old man. Cause old man got old man strength, and I think Pacquiao got that. He got that know-how. He got that strength. He's been watching for 4 years. I think he's going to be ready for this fight. I really do.
Yeah, no, I can see why you would say that. But I'm going to say this, and I'm not saying Pacquiao can't win this fight because you saw what he did with Keith Thurman, but Father Time's undefeated.
Yeah, that's true.
And Pacquiao may have been training, but his body is still, he's older. And I think, even though they won't say it, I think that they, when they made the decision he was coming back, they carefully selected the opponent.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people say, "Oh, you're crazy." No, like when Roy Jones wanted to be heavyweight champion, and they selected John Ruiz because he was an easier opponent for Roy to use his style on.
Yeah.
It's easier for the style. I think, and no disrespect to Barrios, but he's number 3 in the ranking in the welterweights. But if you look right up, number 2 is Brian Norman Jr., who just won his title in very convincing fashion. And then number 1 is Boots Ennis.
Yeah.
So when I say that, they went and selected very carefully, I think, who they wanted to fight for, to give Pacquiao at least a run, an opportunity to win the fight.
Now, I know this is not going to happen, but this will be a fantasy fight of mine. Terrence Crawford and Pacquiao.
Ah.
If Terrence Crawford decides to come back down the way after this particular fight, I've always wanted to see that fight. So I don't know. We'll see.
No, it's fantasy. I mean, even if he was to win, but no, Pacquiao, no, no. I would have liked to seen it where at least he was able to defend him. I would agree with you. I think it would be a major fight. But Pacquiao's too old. Definitely against Crawford. To fight Barrios, maybe. Barrios maybe does not know does not have experience and understand what is right. And Pacquiao just needs enough. He can use enough of his experience to win. But that Bud Crawford is a totally different animal.
Yeah.
One, because I think Bud Crawford would be too quick. And I know Pacquiao's fast. But when you box and your quickness and your reflexes slow down. Even though you may have quickness, if your reflexes are slowing down, it means you can't get off first. Like we say, would be first. If Pacquiao could not do that, Crawford would just pick him apart and eventually stop him. Especially at this age, he's just too old. I mean, I think it's a great because I know Crawford felt for years that he got stepped over.
Yeah, he did.
He felt like he should have got the fight before Keith Thurman, and also when Ugas, Ugas, the former Ugas that was fighting, should have got the fight before him, but he never got it. But again, it just shows you how Bob Arum and Top Rank played him. He was there for years, and they never gave him the fight that he really wanted.
He's Icewater. I'm Puma, and this is the Fight Game.